In this lesson, we're going to be modifying the health and armor bars using a script. So we're going to be using a trigger to take damage, and then it's going to be updating our health and armor based on that damage that we took. So to get started, we are going to be in the L5 start. That's going to be the lesson 5. It's going to open up in this scene right here. That's going to be in the project source files once again. Now, the first thing that we want to do is we want to change the fill type of our images for the health bar and the armor bar. So go underneath the health and armor bounds in the UI. You want to left click on both the armor bar and the health bar, so both of them are going to be selected. And we're going to be changing the image type from simple to filled. Now you also want to make sure that you change the fill method to horizontal. I believe by default it is going to be set to radial 360. So we're going to be using horizontal. The fill origin is going to be left. Now within our script, we're going to be modifying the fill amount of these images. So the fill amount right now is set to 1. If you take a look at the health and the armor bars, I can adjust the slider value and you can see how they go down. So when we take damage, we're going to be modifying the fill amount value right here, which is then going to simulate that we're taking damage. All right, so we're done with our images. Let's take a look at the health script. That's going to be in the scripts folder. So we have our health script here. Double click to open it up. All right, so at the very top, we have a number of float variables. We have current health, current armor, total armor, and damage. So we're going to be modifying the current health and the current armor, whereas the total health and the total armor are going to be the fill amounts. Damage is going to be used with our trigger, so that whenever we walk into our trigger, we're going to be using the damage amount to deduct from our current health or the current armor. Next, we have a couple of public booleans. So public bool has armor and is dead. These are both going to be used to determine if we have armor or if we are dead. Next, within our update function, we have one function in here called health status. If we take a look at the health status function, first we're checking to see if our current health is less than or equal to 0. If so, then we're dead. So is dead is true. We're also going to be checking to see if our current armor is above 0. If so, that means we have armor. Otherwise, we don't have armor, so we have it set to false. We have one public function in here, public void taking damage. It's public because we are going to be using this within our trigger script. So within this function, first we're checking to see if has armor is true. If so, we're going to be deducting from our current armor. So current armor minus equals damage. So if damage is say 10 and current armor is 100, we're going to be deducting 10, which means we're going to be left with 90. Now, if we don't have armor, then we're going to be going down to the else statement, and we're going to be deducting from our current health. So current health minus equals damage. Then finally, we're going to be checking to see if our damage amount is going to be greater than or equal to what we have in our current health. So if damage is say 10 and the current health is say 7, we don't want to go into a negative value. So we're going to be setting is dead to true, and the current health is going to be set to 0. So once again, we're going to be using this within a trigger script, which is then going to be calling this function whenever we walk into that trigger. Let's go to minimize this. We're going to be applying this to our moving rig. So click on the moving rig, and let's just drag this over into the inspector panel. All right, so let's take a look at these values in here. So the current health is going to be 100 to start. Total health is going to be 100 as well. Current armor, we'll just start off with 50. Total armor is also going to be 100. Damage, we'll just set to 10. All right, and we're done. Has armor and is dead are going to be dynamically changed within our script. Now we need to take a look at our UI script. So click on the UI and double click on the UI script. All right, so at the very top, we have a couple of things that are commented out. I included the health bar and the armor bar in the same line as the crosshair. These are all images, so they can be included within one line. Public image, crosshair, health bar, and armor bar. Next, we need a reference to our health script. Public health script. Then within the awake function, health script equals health script.getComponent health. Now we're going to be doing something very similar to what we did with our text within the update function, but this time we're going to be modifying the fill amount. So health bar.fill amount equals current health over total health. So this slash right here means that we're going to have a percentage. So if current health is say 50 and the total health is say 100, that means our bar is going to be at the 50% mark. So it's going to be halfway filled up. So we're going to be doing that for both the health and the armor. So armor bar.fill amount equals health script.current armor over total armor. All right, so let's go ahead and save that, minimize this. Now we need to assign our images. So the armor bar is at the very top. Health bar is above that. Then we need our health script, which is already applied to our moving rig. So we can just assign that right there. And there we go. Now we need to add in a trigger. So let's go up to Game Object, 3D Object, Cube. Let me jump into my scene view real quick. I'm going to double up in size here, 2 by 2 by 2. Now in the box collider section, we need to set it to is trigger right here. Left click on it. That will allow us to use it as a trigger. You place this closer to the ground here. Now we need to add our trigger script. So let's take a look at the trigger script. It's called damage trigger. Double click to open it up. So at the very top, we have a reference to our health script. And once again, we're going to be grabbing that health script within the start function. Then we have one void on trigger enter here. This is going to be used for our trigger. So void on trigger enter collider COL. If a collider with a tag of player walks into that trigger, then we're going to be calling the taking damage function from our health script. So once again, this is a public function, hence why we can use it in this script. So once again, we need a collider, and we also need a tag of player to be able to use this function right here. So if a collider with a tag of player walks into that trigger, then we're going to be calling this function, and then we're going to be taking damage. So we need to apply this to our cube. So click on the cube, and drag the damage trigger script over into the inspector panel. Make sure that you assign the health script, which once again is on our moving rig. There we go. And lastly, we need to add a tag to our player. So click on the moving rig. You can see he has a collider, which is his capsule here, and player is a default tag. So we can go up to the tag section in the inspector panel, open this up, and click on player. Right, and there we go. Now we should have everything already assigned already. If we don't, we'll see an error pop up down here. Let's click play and see how this works. All right, so if I walk into this trigger, you can see our armor bar starts to go down. You also see it update down here in the health script in the bottom right of the inspector panel. So it keeps going down, and you'll notice that the has armor boolean variable is no longer checked. We can keep doing this for the health as well. And there we go. Now the health and the armor are both set to 0. If I hit escape real quick and we take a look at the health script, you can see that is dead is currently checked, has armor is unchecked, meaning it's false, and is dead is true, meaning we are dead. Now you could add in something else in here. You could have a is dead image appear on the screen, or you can do something else of that sort. That's a little bit more complicated. We're not going to get too in depth with that. We just want to go over how to modify the health and the armor. So there you go. Now we can modify our health and armor when we take damage. Now this is something that we will be covering a little bit later on as well in other courses where we take a look at taking damage from enemy characters. We just used a simple trigger in this case, but we will be taking a look at how we can take damage from other characters and how we can utilize the health and armor bars in the same fashion.